Hello, everyone. So I'm very excited to have Emma with me, who I've known for a very long time, but haven't actually seen for absolutely ages. So hi, Emma. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi.
Hi. So Emma was living in Hong Kong originally, and now is living in Dubai. So we'll go chronologically and start off in Hong Kong. So how did you end up there? Were you looking for a job in Hong Kong, or how did it come about?
No, it was a complete accident. I between my first and second year at university, I lived in Italy for 3 to 4 months, and I absolutely loved living abroad. And I came back from Italy knowing that I wanted to live abroad. I grew up, and I started working for a company in London, knowing that they had international offices, and knowing that at some point I would ask them if I could move internationally. Now, they had offices in New York and Hong Kong. I asked them after, I think it was about 12 to 18 months, I asked them if I could move to New York. And they said, "We're sorry, we don't have an opening for you, but you could go to Hong Kong." And I was like, no, I'm not interested in moving to Hong Kong. And they were like, "Well, why? Think about it. Why don't you just have a think about it?" So I did, and I figured that, me, try it. If you don't like it, you can come home. So I moved to Hong Kong, and I stayed there
Wow,
for 4 years. So that was
amazing.
that.
That was a brave decision then after having, so you didn't know anything about Hong Kong really, you had no expectations, you just thought, just going to go for it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I did like a little bit of research, but nothing extensive. I'd never been before. I knew one person who lived there, um, but that was it. That was that.
And
You
what
can
was the
always come
job? What
home,
did you actually do
right?
there? Pardon?
Um, s- same job, same job that I do now. So I'm a conference director. So I was. No one ever understands when I try and explain what this is, but it's basically producing business to business conferences for different sectors. So I speak to, let's say, people in financial services, talk to them about what key hot topics are at any one given time, and then I write a conference agenda, 1 to 2 days worth of um, thought provoking content that people want to come and listen to presentations of. And then I organize the speakers to come and deliver that content. And then I host the event on the day.
Cool. That sounds great. I trained in event management, so I know a bit about it, but hopefully other people will. But I think you explained it very well, so it sounds cool.
Yeah.
And what about Hong Kong
But
itself? Huh?
sorry, the okay, what did you say?
What about Hong Kong itself? What was it like? The people, the nightlife, the food. How was it?
Um, it was a culture shock, but not so much of a culture shock because it was owned by Britain for a long time. Like everyone speaks English. A lot of things, street signs, were in English. People was hard. I mean, you've got when you live abroad, as you know, there are two sets of people. You've got your locals, and then you've got your expat community. And the expat community in Hong Kong was amazing, much the same as here. Everyone was very well, not everyone. There were people who were unfriendly, but the majority of people were friendly and warm and welcoming. The locals, if you had a reason to speak to a local, they were friendly and welcoming. If you didn't, they were, this is my perception anyway, they were kind of like, one of the things I remember about Hong Kong is the local Chinese have no sense of spatial awareness. You'll be walking down the street and they will stop in front of you for absolutely no reason and giving you no warning, and then that's it, you walk in them. Like, and it's just something that I've never really experienced anywhere else. um, but that's something that I take from there. Food wise, I mean, it's if you like Asian food, great. If you don't, okay, there's like there's McDonald's on every corner, there's Starbucks on every corner. Like, unfortunate for you, but you know, like you can eat whatever you want. I got very much into Asian food when I was there. I didn't actually like Chinese from England. If anyone's been to China, they will know that Chinese food in England is not the same as Chinese food in China. Completely different. But I didn't like Chinese food in England, and then when I went there, things like dim sum I'd never had before, and it was delicious. But then there were other disgusting Chinese dishes which were just gross. And then there are the sort of the famous Chinese delicacies like chicken's feet, duck's tongue, chicken's testicles, which that is a delicacy. But somebody mentioned to me the other week, how can that be possible? Because a chicken is female.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's one of the delicacies. So there are some weird and wonderful things there, but in general, it's just one of those places where you can get anything that you want. I spent a lot of my time eating Vietnamese food when I was there. It's delicious, Vietnamese and Thai. The other things that I remember about Hong Kong, or that I really love about Hong Kong, is there's just something for everyone there. I mean, whether you're into partying, or whether you're into hiking, or whether you're into the beach, or whether you want to be a city person, or you want to be a countryside person, or you want to go surfing, or name something that you like doing, you will have it in Hong Kong. Not the same in Dubai. Dubai is much fewer options, but we can talk about that in a minute.
I didn't realise that Hong Kong had so much to offer, actually. I really didn't know much about it. I've never been to that part of the world, so it's interesting to hear that it has so much to do, everything there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, as we were talking about...
And not many people know, which is what I think not many people go. No, carry on.
Yeah, so, well, we may as well move on to Dubai now, as we were talking about that. So how did that come about? Is it the same company that you're working for over in Dubai, or why did you move over there?
Yeah, so that was an accident again. So the company that I moved to Hong Kong with, I worked for a further 2 years in Hong Kong. And then when I felt that it was time for me to move, they actually offered me to move to their New York office at that point, which was fantastic. But by that point, I was in love with Hong Kong. I was 2 years in. I wasn't ready to go. I didn't really fancy New York anymore. So I decided to stay. And I worked for two other companies when I was there, over the course of 2 years. So that's a quite quick turnaround. And then it got to the point where I'd moved out of conference production, I'd done other things, and I decided that actually I wanted to move back into conference production. Like, it was something that I enjoyed, something that I was very good at, what to do. And there were only a couple of companies in Hong Kong that I could work for doing what I do, and fewer that would pay me a salary that I wanted at the level that I wanted. And so I ended up interviewing for a role in Singapore, which I got. I was given a job in Singapore, working for the company that I work for now in Dubai. So everything was sorted. I had all my visas sorted. I had a plane ticket, a one-way air ticket from Hong Kong to Singapore. I'd given up my accommodation. I'd quit my job. I'd paid my taxes. I was ready to leave. And then 10 days before I got on that plane, the managing director from the Singapore office called me and said, "We're really sorry, but there's been some restructuring here, and this department is being rolled back into the main office, and so your role has been made redundant." And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do now then? Like, thanks, guys. But I mean, there was nothing I could do. I mean, to this day, I don't know whether I could have legally done anything about it, and I chose not to go down that route, because what was the point? I mean, it would have been everybody. I decided that I was going to go to Singapore anyway. I decided that I had the air ticket. I'd already decided I was leaving. I'd already said goodbye to my life in Hong Kong. I was ready for a new challenge. I would go to Singapore, and I would either find a job myself there, or I would find a job back in England or somewhere else through other means. So I made that decision. I got on the plane and I went. And in the meantime, the MD who had said to me, sorry, we have no job for you, he had called me back and he had said, I'm really sorry, and I feel really terrible about this, and I see the value in you, and we want you to work for our company, so how do you feel about Dubai? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't really think about Dubai. I mean, no, thank you. Like, I don't really go and live in the desert. And it's like, I really think you should really consider it. And I was like, okay, I will consider it. So I went to Singapore, interviewed for a couple of things in Singapore, was offered a job in Singapore, actually, a very good job. But I decided that I was in Singapore for 2 weeks and I just really didn't like the vibe. Like, I'd lived in Hong Kong for 4 years and I loved the vibe there. And I got to Singapore, and bearing in mind, I've been to Singapore many times with work whilst I was living in Hong Kong, and I really didn't like it. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like people were welcoming me. And maybe I was being a little bit sensitive because I just lost a job and I was lost in my person. Like, I didn't have anywhere to live. I was staying with my friend on her sofa. You know, it was all kind of a bit of a mess. And so maybe that affected my emotions as well. But when they said, you know, I think you should really consider Dubai, and this is the job that we're going to put forward for you, and they offered me a very good package and a very good position here. The position in Singapore was actually higher, and the salary was higher. But I decided that at this point in my life, having left conference production and then coming back into conference production, it was better to come in here at this level, which is still management level, but it's not head of a production team. I decided it was better for me career-wise to come here and do this. And then, you know, I'm still in contact with the people in Singapore. If I ever decide I want to go back there, I can do. I don't think I will, but the option is always open. So again, accident.
It was really two places that you had never even considered, and then you ended up living there in Hong Kong 4 years. And I see how long you end up there for. But wow, it's very inspiring that you just decided to go for it. It's kind of places that you hadn't even thought about, and just thought, "Sod it, I'm going to go there."
Well, I'm lucky in the sense that I have a very supportive family. Like, they don't like that I live abroad. Really, I mean, of course they do. They're very proud of me and they're very happy for me, but they want me to be at home. And the first couple of years when I was in Hong Kong, I really didn't get that. I was rebelling and I was like, no, I want to be here, blah, blah. But now as I'm starting to get older, I'm starting to understand it more. And the other day I realized that I texted my sister and I said to her, do you know what? I'm really sorry that when I decided to move abroad, I never considered what effect that would have on you. Because we have, if anyone knows me, I'm one of 5 siblings, 3 brothers, 1 sister. And my sister's 5 years younger than me, and she's the only girl other than me. And I had a big sister up and left, and I disappeared off to the other side of the world. And I never stopped to think what effect that would have on her. And I mean, she's perfectly fine, and we continue to have a relationship digitally, but it's not the same as just, you know, I want to go for a coffee with my sister, or I just want to go hang out with my sister. Like, and I realized like a couple of months ago that I'd never had thought about that. And so I called her and I apologized, and she was like, oh no, don't be silly. But these things that you start to think about. But I'm very lucky in the sense that as I say, I have that very supportive family, and I'm also single. So I don't have to think about anyone else. Like, I don't have to consider if I had a boyfriend when I left London, or if I had a boyfriend when I left Hong Kong, or kids. Like, I would have had to really consider other people, and I don't. So I didn't have to. So the decisions were hard decisions and risky decisions, but they're also quite easy, because I know that the only person I'm really impacting is myself. And if something goes very wrong, it's only me I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about looking after anybody else as well. So, and I'm not saying that if you are in a relationship, you shouldn't think about moving abroad. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it made it easier for me.
No, of course, that makes perfect sense. And that's great. You've got a good support network. I'm very lucky as well. Actually, my parents are the same, my family. I'm the youngest. I don't have a younger sister to worry about. But yeah, my mum and dad much prefer it if I was at home. But yeah, they are very, very supportive as well. So it definitely makes a big difference. It makes it a lot easier to be away.
It does. It really does.
Yeah. So what about Dubai then? How does it compare to Hong Kong? And because it's a dry country, right? So you're not supposed to.
So I love that question, because it is, I mean, technically it is a dry country, but it's not. I mean, you can't buy alcohol in supermarkets. Like, you can't walk to the equivalent of Tesco's and pick up a bottle of wine. The only place you can get alcohol is at the airport, or if you need to go to a hotel. Hotels have licenses to have alcohol. So there are areas where you can buy it. They have to be licensed. Officially, you're supposed to have a liquor license in order to drink alcohol. I have one, just in case. But yeah, I mean, it is a dry country, but it's not a dry country. Like, you would not come here and expect not to drink. In fact, most people come here on holiday to drink, and that is a big part of what people do here. And this is why I look so terrible, because I had friends over last night for an impromptu shisha and wine night. So
sounds fun.
It was wonderful. It was really fun, really lovely. Not the one for 3 hours sleep though.
Sorry about that.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for
it is not your fault. It is not for you to apologize for. I apologize for not looking like I was ready for this interview. But no, Dubai is a fascinating place. It's the mixture of cultures here is intense. I mean, these are not exact figures, but it's something like 17 or 7% local Emiratis that live in Dubai, and the rest is expat. And that's not Western expat. That's like Southeast Asian expat, and there are and Indians. There are many different, all thrown together. And you have that in Hong Kong as well, but the majority in Hong Kong were Chinese or Cantonese, as they Hong Kongers like to be. Sometimes you call them Chinese and they're not happy about that, which is fine. But so that's a vast and obvious difference for me. Like, it's not majority local Emiratis here. I mean, you do see them, and they're very prominent when you see them because they wear the national dress, and they're very well put together. But the majority of people here are expats, and there is a massive expat community, which it's like Hong Kong. It's quite hard to infiltrate if you don't know somebody. Like, it's quite hard to just walk up to a group of people and be like, "Hey, how are you? I'm new. Do you want to be my friend?" Like, the majority of the time that has happened is make friends through work, and then go out with them, and then meet people in bars, and then be like, "Hey, do you want to make a new friend?" And that way it works. But if you just try to walk up to somebody in the street, I mean, who does that anyway? But yeah, that's quite hard. But I do find that it's quite cliquey in Dubai, whereas Hong Kong wasn't so cliquey. Like, there were big social groups in Hong Kong, and they were more open and welcoming, whereas here it is quite cliquey, and you really have to have an in order to get in with a group of people, which, you know, I mean, it's fair. Like, everyone is here for their own reasons, and once you've established a friendship group, you know, don't rock the boat by letting somebody else in. You never know how that person is going to change the dynamics. But I also find that the expat community here is slightly younger than the expat community that I knew in Hong Kong. I mean, obviously there's lots of different age groups, but from my perspective right now, the people that I am seeing tend to be a couple of years younger than me. There are a lot of British girls here in their mid-20s. I mean, it's a very interesting place. If you don't like heat, don't bother. If you cannot handle heat, don't bother. It's not like Hong Kong heat. Hong Kong, you got very hot and sticky in the summer, and then in the winter it came down to, like, I think it was like 2 degrees the coldest when I was there in the winter. Dubai is currently like.
I didn't realise it got so cold in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, nor did I, but it does. I mean, it's seasonal, and then here, I think it's currently like 40 degrees or something outside, and it's, what is it? It's 7:25 a.m. I mean, we're coming to the end of a long summer here, and the temperature has started to drop over the past, I'd say, like the past 2 to 3 weeks. It's become very obvious that the temperature has dropped a couple of degrees, and it will drop lower, but it's not going to get cold. But then again, that depends on who you ask, because I had my friends that I had over last night, one of them was saying that actually in December on the beach, it's cold. It's a lovely 18 degrees. So for anyone that lives in England, it's warm.
Yeah.
But for us, used to the heat here, it's cold. It'll be my first winter in Dubai this year, and I'm very much looking forward to it because it is too hot right now.
Oh no.
And that's why I'm wearing a jumper, because I'm in my apartment with my air conditioning on full blast. So if the aircon isn't on, the apartment is like baking.
So are those the most difficult things then, the kind of social groups and the weather, or what do you like most about it? Because at the moment we kind of focus on the negative sides a little bit. What do you like most about Dubai?
What do I like most about Dubai? That's an interesting question. I mean, I like the fact that it is so close to, in proximity, like, to the rest of the Middle East and Europe and Asia, actually. When I lived in Hong Kong, it was great to travel to Southeast Asia and the rest of Asia, but you couldn't really go anywhere else without spending many hours on a plane. Dubai is different. It's 5 hours to Europe. It's 7 hours to London, whereas it was 13 hours to London from Hong Kong. It's 7 hours to Hong Kong if I want to go back that way. I think it's something like 3 hours to Sri Lanka. It's an hour to anywhere else in the Middle East. So what's the best thing I like about Dubai? The fact that I can leave and go to other places easily. No. I mean, I'm very much enjoying my job, and that is because of the friendliness in the office. And when you do find the groups of people, that they are very friendly and they do make life so much easier. I actually really enjoy working in the Middle East. I mean, some people say it's hard, and I mean, there are funny rules and things, but I find Emiratis and other nationals to be very friendly and very sweet and very passionate about what they do, and they want to get involved, and that makes the job so much easier. Whereas you certainly didn't always get that in England, and sometimes you'd get it in Hong Kong, and other times you'd get someone to tell you to go away. But Um, so yeah, I think it's definitely not the weather that I love, although that is great when you sit out on the beach or by the pool. But I think it's more about the people and the actual kind of like lifestyle as a whole that I have here, which, I mean, there is no tax here. So the salary goes further, even though everything is more expensive.
Yeah,
But it's just a very nice way of life here.
good. Is it a lot more expensive than Hong Kong there?
Yeah. Um, I mean, in Hong Kong, I would probably spend 50 Hong Kong dollars on lunch, and that's the equivalent to £5. Here, I would spend probably 80 to 100 dirhams on lunch, and that's the equivalent to 17 to £20.
Mm.
So it's considerably more expensive. I mean, you can, of course, do cheaper options, but then that's changing your, your standard of living. Um, but I mean, everything is more expensive because they don't pay any tax, and so everything is taxed. So yeah, but
Okay, and what about
yeah, it's yeah.
sorry, I had a bit of a lag there. So what about general tips for people thinking about living, well, no, first of all, people that already live abroad, what are your tips for staying sane when you're living abroad and away from your family and friends? What's the best way for you to just, yeah, stay sane and happy when you're living away from home?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I would not have survived 4 years in Hong Kong had I not established the amazing friendship groups that I did. I was very, very lucky in the sense that I had lots of different groups with lots of different friends, but I had a handful of very close friends who were an extension of my family who I knew I could always rely on. And to this day, I could still rely on them. And that has been harder finding that in Dubai, but I'm getting there. And it is always possible. You just need to find the right people and keep working at them. Um, but I mean, absolutely. I think if you are moving abroad, whether it is on your own or with your family, I just think it's so important to put yourself out there, meet people, and say hello and just have a conversation with them. Like you will see very quickly whether you would actually get on with that person organically or not. Like it might seem a very strange situation it's like the first day of school, like you just walk up to someone and be like, hi, can I be your friend? Like, and it's not really like that, but it kind of is. It feels weird, but then the conversation will either flow or it won't. If it goes, there you go, make that relationship work. If it doesn't, move on to the next person. There are plenty of people, but I think it is seriously important to make sure you go out and meet people and make friends, because when you are so used to having family and friends from school or friends from all your life to like fall back on, and then all of a sudden you're on your own in a strange country and you don't have that, it can get very, very hard. And we're lucky these days in the sense that there is all these digital networks. You can Skype or you can speak to your family on WhatsApp or whatever. It's not the same. And you're never going to replace your family with other people in the country that you live in, but you can give it a damn good try. I mean, I have best friends in Hong Kong who are like sisters to me. They're an extension of my family. When families have welcomed me in, I spent one Christmas, in fact, I spent once with one of them and another Christmas with another one, and with their families and friends. And, it's just wonderful. And if you don't have that, it can be very hard. So it might feel strange to put yourself out there, but you absolutely should. And also, especially if you are there with your family, because it can be quite easy to just be like, oh, my wife is here, my husband is here, my boyfriend is here, I don't need to go and make friends. Or if you as an expat, it's your job, you are making friends, and then your partner has come over with you, and this happens quite often actually, one person has the job and move, and then the partner goes with them and doesn't have a job and doesn't really do anything, and finds it very hard to integrate because there's no in that friendship situation. If you have a job, you automatically can make friends through that just by talking to your colleagues. So I think it's very important to, either on your own or as a couple, get out there and make new friends and be open to people coming into your life, but also open to people going out of your life as well, because that does happen too. Like my first year in Hong Kong, I had best friends. My second year in Hong Kong, I was not friends with those people. I mean, we didn't fall out. We just moved apart from each other. And so you have to kind of make that to heart. It's not a personal thing. It's just, actually you came together and you thought that you had a mutual understanding that you both wanted a friend, and so you became friends. And then as time goes on, you realize that actually you're not that organically compatible, and there's nothing wrong with that. You continue to meet more friends and make more friends. I think if you're not an open person, you shouldn't do it. If you're not comfortable with making new friends, don't do it. But do it, guys. You should do it.
Well, it's a way that I think for some people maybe they were quite shy at first, but going just the fact of being abroad and traveling, it can change people. It can give people a lot more confidence, especially traveling on their own. I mean, when I started on my own, and you go to a hospital and you have to, if you don't want to just be lonely the whole time, you have to just get out there, and shell, and it makes a big difference, of course, having
exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think
that's the most important.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for my questions. Sorry about the lag.
No, thank you so much for asking me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, fantastic.
That's okay. I hope everyone can hear us.
I hope so as well, yeah.
Wonderful stuff.
Bye.